Well, ahoy! It be me, Captain Scurvy Shorts here. And no, I didn't go anywhere. I haven't been cancelled. I've just been busy earning enough experience points to level up. And you might be wondering, what class did I decide to put that level in? Well, you'll all be happy to hear that Captain Scurvy Shorts is officially a Fathomless Warlock. What's a shark even doing on land now? Elders! 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 Oh, I got you, you fiend! Elders! Oh, you monkeys! So as you can see, it makes a pretty effective weapon. Now, let's pass this over to someone that's definitely seen enough hentai to know where this is going. Taron.
The Fathomless. You have plunged into a pact with the deeps. An entity of the ocean, the elemental plane of water, or another otherworldly sea now allows you to draw on its thalassic power. Is it merely using you to learn about the terrestrial realms, or does it want you to open cosmic floodgates and drown the world? Perhaps you were born into a generational cult that venerates the Fathomless and its spawn. Or you might have been shipwrecked and on the brink of drowning when your patron's grasp offered you a chance at life. Whatever the reason for your pact, the sea and its unknown depths call to you. Entities of the deep that might empower a warlock include krakens, ancient water elementals, godlike hallucinations dreamed into being by kuo-toa, merfolk, demigods, and sea hag covens. For their expanded spell list, let's just do a refresher into kind of what I'm thinking and how warlock spellcasting works. So for your expanded spell list, remember your spell slots are going to come back to you on a short rest, and these are spells that you have to choose to know. They're not just given to you as they are with so many other spellcaster subclasses. And also with Warlock spellcasting, I'm thinking that for earlier levels, remember that the usual Warlock spellcasting loop is going to be earlier levels, you're going to want Hex, because Hex is just that strong at the first and second tiers of play. Beyond that, I want to say at around like 9th level and above, Hex becomes not a super big issue, so I'm worried about what's going to compete for your concentration, your bonus action as well. Also, as far as their action economy, I'm considering what's worth using your action for in combat over using Eldritch Blast. Also, because of the way that their spell slot regeneration works, spells that have a duration of 8 hours or more, I tend to lean a bit heavier on those being a bit stronger for Warlocks, because you can usually just get those spell slots back if you cast a spell, do a rest, and it's almost like an at-will spell in a way. So starting off with Create or Destroy Water, you either create or destroy water, casting time on 1 action, duration instantaneous. This is a very utility, may have some kind of combat implication kind of a spell. It's in flavor for this Warlock. There's also certain fights like with the Water Weird where you can possibly, like if it's only in 10 gallons of water and you destroy it with this, then bam, you do just completely cheese the fight. This is a spell that the utility of it, does the utility really scale as much as you would like it to for, especially on Warlock? I feel like you might get this. It might be funny once or twice, maybe like 3 times in a campaign. It has some shenanigan potential, so I'm going to give it blue. Thunderwave, casting time on 1 action, duration instantaneous. So this is going to be competing with Eldritch Blast for your action. This is going to be a nice little horde clear right here, right? Each creature in a 15-foot cube originating from you must make a Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, a creature takes 2d8 thunder damage and is pushed 10 feet away from you. On a successful save, the creature takes half as much damage and isn't pushed. In addition, unsecured objects that are completely within the area of effect are automatically pushed 10 feet away from you by the spell's effect. The spell emits a thunderous boom audible out to 300 feet, and then it just gets an additional d8 whenever you cast this up at higher levels. For these 2 first level spells, I will say that Hex is a must grab, especially on the Fathomless. And Hex is going to continue to get better with the Fathomless in a unique way that no other Warlock really can. So that's a must get for me. Between these 2, Create or Destroy Water or Thunderwave, I'd say maybe at first level pick up Thunderwave, maybe at second level decide if you want to take Create or Destroy Water or one of the other, more interesting spells on the Warlock spell list. But hey, it's here. Whenever you get access to second level spells, you can pick up Gust of Wind, casting time of 1 action, duration of 1 minute, and it is going to compete with Hex for your concentration. So it's going to knock it down for me. A line of strong wind 60 feet long and 10 feet wide blasts from you in a direction you choose for the spell's duration. Each creature that starts its turn in the line must succeed on a strength saving throw or be pushed 15 feet away from you in a direction following the line. Any creature in the line must spend 2 feet of movement for every 1 foot it moves when moving closer to you. So kind of like difficult terrain rules, but not really. Yeah, I mean, the wording's pretty much the same. The gust disperses gas or vapor, and it extinguishes candles, torches, and similar unprotected flames in the area. It causes protected flames, such as those of lanterns, to dance wildly, and has a 50% chance to extinguish them. On a bonus action on each of your turns before the spell ends, you can change the direction for which the line blasts from you. So why have I given Gust of Wind an orange, where I think that this one is actually pretty weak to pick up? Casting time of 1 action, and then it's going to compete with Hex for your concentration. This doesn't really scale with you, so you're going to be blowing some of your nice big Warlock spell slots to get an effect that's the exact same thing as if you had cast it at 2nd level, which just doesn't really feel that great as a Warlock spell, right? I think that there's so many other great spells that you can pick up on Warlock that I think that Gust of Wind, it just doesn't feel like it really synergizes really well with the entire Warlock kit. Silence, you all know that I think that the spell is amazing. Why on this Warlock do I think that this is a blue, where I don't think that this is going to be all that great? Number one, like I said earlier, this is going to compete for your concentration with Hex. This is something different that you can do, right? This Warlock in particular is going to very, very, very much favor keeping its concentration for Hex. The casting time of 1 action, there are situations where this is going to be much better to use than Eldritch Blast, but this is going to kind of clash with a lot of what's going on with this Warlock. There's a combo in here that is super, super, super strong, and Silence doesn't really work synergetically with that. It's there for some utility. I do think that this is a really good spell, and you will find uses for it outside of combat. In combat, I think the one use you're going to have for this is that it's going to be used defensively to try and shut down mages. So I'm going to give it a blue here. Lightning Bolt. Okay, so this is purple for the same exact reason that Fireball is purple. We know that this spell is intentionally designed to be stronger than a 3rd level spell should be. You throw out a 100 foot long, that is absolutely massive. That is 20 squares on a battle grid. 100 feet long and 5 feet wide, just line of lightning. Each creature in the line must make a dexterity saving throw. A creature takes 8d6 lightning damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. The lightning ignites flammable objects in the area that aren't being worn or carried, and this will scale up with you. This is such a great spell. Such a great spell, and especially for Lightning Bolt, there are, if I'm remembering this correctly, there are more creatures that are immune or resistant to fire than there are to lightning. So, sure, this is not the big blast area of Fireball, but whoa, man, if you just hang out in the back, send your tentacle in to do everything, and then this is going to be a real good use of your action, your Warlock spell slots. Like I said, it's going to continue to scale up with you. Lightning Bolt, absolutely fantastic. Sleet Storm, usually a spell that I really, really like. I think that this is usually a blue on just about any other subclass, except for this one right here, because there is a bit of a meat grinder, like, what do we call it? Wood chipper, cheese grater, meat grinder. We'll go with wood chipper, sure. Kind of a combo that you can set up with Sleet Storm, Lance of Lethargy, and your Tentacle of the Deeps, where you create the Sleet Storm, and I mean, there's a possibility that you can cause a lot of chaos in this small area and completely shut down a bunch of enemies, right? 40-foot radius, 20-foot tall cylinder, centered on a point that you can see within range. The area is heavily obscured, and exposed flames in the area are doused. Now, before I keep moving forward, this does compete for your concentration with Hex, but this is also a 3rd level spell. So I think by the time that you can get this at 5th level, this might actually be, because of the strength of a combo I'm going to talk about, this might be actually worth breaking your Hex concentration in order to pull off. Because there are certain creatures, actually quite a few creatures, that you can almost completely lock down in this area because of some of the stuff you're going to get in this kit. The ground in the area is covered with slick ice, making it, number one, difficult terrain. So anything is going to have to expend 2 feet of movement for every 1 foot that it moves. When a creature enters the spell's area for the first time on a turn or starts its turn there, it must make a dexterity saving throw. On a failed save, it falls prone. If a creature starts its turn in the spell's area and is concentrating on a spell, the creature must make a successful Constitution saving throw against your spell save DC or lose concentration. So not a typical type of concentration breaker here. So Sleet Storm. Well, you know what? Before I get into that, I need to talk about Tentacle of the Deeps. So we will come back to this because, woo, is that ever a real scary looking combo. Control water for aquatic, like piratey themed campaigns. Like I think many of you are going to be wanting to play this Warlock in. This is absolutely going to be a blue kind of spell must pick up, right? However, like in most situations, control water it's relying on the fact that if there's freestanding water in an area you can choose that is a cube up to 100 feet on a side, you can do a lot of really cool stuff with that, right? With this, there's a ton of uses that you can get out of this spell. But I think that in most situations, there's just so many other spells in the Warlock spell list that are going to be more worth it for you to pick up than control water. But, you know, it might not be an insta-grab as soon as you get 4th level spell slots, you know, go over and snag control water. But maybe whenever you hit like 8th or 9th level, you got some more spells that you know, it might be worth it for you to grab this one if you feel like it's going to come into play more often. Summon Elemental. So all of the summon spells that are in Tasha's are very, very good. Very strong. This one has this arbitrary restriction that you can only summon a water elemental to tie it into this theme. So all the different elementals, all the different summoning spells, I need to just do a video on them because if you want to make a summoner in D&D, oh man, are there ever so many good spells to actualize that concept right now. Summon Elemental, 4th level spell here. So yes, this is going to be very much worth casting over Hex because of the damage output that this Elemental can really do. Like casting time of 1 action, I still think that this is going to be more worth it to use than like Eldritch Blast. Unless you're going for this specific combo where you're trying to reduce its movement speed and yada, yada, yada. But very, very strong spell for you to get here at 4th level. Bigby's Hand, we know this is an amazing spell, right? We know this is absolutely great. Perfect kind of a spell. Yes, it is going to require your concentration. This is better to use than Hex. Absolutely, for a 5th level spell slot, give me Bigby's Hand all day long. It's a stylistic choice for me, right? They chose not to reprint Maelstrom. And Maelstrom would have been absolutely perfect for this Fathomless to get, would have fit very well into its kit in a very scary way, in an absolutely terrifying way. It would have made this a very interesting control kind of a Warlock. Bigby's Hand, you can get that kind of control, but like, I just think it would have been way more graceful to reprint Maelstrom from Xanthar's Guide to Everything in Tasha's, and then give it to him here. This just kind of feels like a flavor fail to me. So, Cone of Cold. A blast of cold arrow erupts from your hands. Each creature in a 60-foot cone must make a Constitution saving throw. A creature takes 8d8 cold damage on a failed save, or half as much damage on a successful one. A creature killed by this spell becomes a frozen statue until it thaws. So you're going to get this at 5th level spell. That's the highest level that your Warlock spell slots are going to go up to. So at this point, this is only doing 1 damage extra, like 1 damage higher than what you're going to be doing with Lightning Bolt cast at 5th level, right? So Cone of Cold, this is if you've got this in conjunction with Lightning Bolt, right, you've got more like options for different areas. Both of these are relatively uncommon damage types for creatures to have resistance or immunity to. Absolutely, they are out there. But these two aren't the big reason why I think that this Warlock has got some real super interesting potential here. Now, also a thing to think about is that neither one of these requires your concentration. So you can cast Sleet Storm and do this combo that we'll talk about here in a second and just blast everything. I think that Cone of Cold in that situation might actually be a little bit better for you to use than Lightning Bolt. Yeah. Okay, you know what? We'll talk about that. So, Tentacle of the Deeps. Let's get into this feature. This is a very good feature for the fact of what this does for Warlock's action economy, right? For this Warlock in particular, you can magically summon a spectral tentacle that strikes at your foes. As a bonus action, you create a 10-foot long tentacle at a point you can see within 60 feet of you. The tentacle lasts for 1 minute or until you use this feature to create another tentacle. When you create the tentacle, you can make a melee spell attack against one creature within 10 feet of it. On a hit, the target takes 1d8 cold damage, and its speed is reduced by 10 feet until the start of your next turn. When you reach 10th level in this class, the damage increases to 2d8. As a bonus action on your turn, you can move the tentacle up to 30 feet and repeat the attack. You can summon the tentacle a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. So, the way that I look at this, right, is that first and second tiers of play, I'm thinking that in a session, you've most likely got 1 or 2 encounters, maybe 3, 4 if you are doing a pretty grindy dungeon, right? So most likely, you're going to have this tentacle available to you in most combat situations, right? As you get up there in levels, like by 5th level, I think that you're likely always going to have this tentacle available to you. And by it's either 8th or 9th level, I'm trying to remember. By that point, I don't think that this tentacle is ever not going to be a factor in combat. The combo that we're looking at here, why this is so good on this Warlock. Remember, this is a bonus action that you get to make a melee spell attack against a creature with, right? So, and yes, this right here, it's not the tentacle making an attack, it's you can make a melee spell attack against one creature within 10 feet of it. On a hit, the target takes 1d8 cold damage, and its speed is reduced by 10 feet until the start of your turn. And then this scales up with you. Now, it's not quite cantrip scaling, which is kind of interesting because now we have a precedent somewhat for how bonus action sort of cantrip effects should work. Which, hey, designers out there, take a look at this one. But this is going to deal 1d8 cold damage as a bonus action on your turns. Your action is still freed up for you to do things like Eldritch Blast. Hex. Cast this spell for your first turn in combat, right? You place a curse on a creature that you can see within range. Until the spell ends, you deal an extra 1d6 necrotic damage to the target whenever you hit it with an attack. Also choose one ability when you cast the spell. The target has disadvantage on ability checks made with the chosen ability. If the target drops to 0 hit points before the spell ends, you can use a bonus action on subsequent turns of yours to curse a new creature. A remove curse cast on the target ends the spell early. Now, the scaling on this is mostly just to increase the duration, right? That's all roleplay kind of stuff. What this means for this Warlock is that this is one of the only Warlocks that's capable of causing hex damage during its bonus action. So realistically, what this tentacle is doing is 1d8 cold damage, reduce its speed by 10 feet, and an additional 1d6 necrotic damage. Which means that this Warlock is getting more out of hex than any other Warlock currently in 5th edition. Now, if you look at the Fiend, right? The Fiend can do something with Scorching Ray. Scorching Ray, it's 3 separate beams. The beams all do additional damage, but it's still your action. This Fathomless can do that through Eldritch Blast, and then use its bonus action to do this. And this scales with you, and it reduces the target's movement speed by 10 feet. Because of this, there's a Warlock in Eldritch Invocation called Lance of Lethargy. Once on each of your turns, when you hit a creature with your Eldritch Blast, you can reduce that creature's speed by 10 feet until the end of your next turn. Fathomless, you hit it with Tentacle of the Deeps, reduce its speed by 10 feet. Hit it with Lance of Lethargy, reduce its speed by now 20 feet at this point, right? Some of these spells that are up here, Sleet Storm, I mean, maybe that's also part of the reason why Maelstrom wasn't reprinted, despite it making absolute sense here on this Warlock. Maelstrom would have been an absolutely devastating spell for this Warlock to get. A swirling mass of 5-foot deep water appears in a 30-foot radius centered on a point you can see within range. The point must be on the ground or in a body of water. Until the spell ends, that area is difficult terrain, and any creature that starts its turn there must succeed on a strength saving throw or take 66 bludgeoning damage and be pulled 10 feet toward the center. This would have been a real scary combo, but I still would have absolutely loved to have seen this picked up over Bigby's hand. That's gonna be a nitpick of mine on the design aspect of this. But Tentacle of the Deeps. Like I said, this is going to make this Warlock one of the best hexers, if not the best hexer of any other Warlock, which is an odd flavor kind of thing. I don't know that the playstyle was intentionally meant to like evoke that sort of a feeling, but like, wow, there are some creatures, I know, like if you look at oozes, that are just not going to be able to touch you. You know, you pick up that Lance of Lethargy, Eldritch Invocation, take Agonizing Blast because, yeah, it's just that good. This is going to be a real scary combo. There's a lot of stuff that you can do to set this up in conjunction with other characters. If anybody else has got some kind of a damaging effect kind of a thing, then like Tentacle of the Deeps is such a good shutdown kind of a setup thing. There's a lot of stuff in this combo to really love. Gift of the Sea, you're getting a movement speed of 40 feet, and you can breathe underwater. You can breathe underwater. I've seen this used out of water to really good effect, where people will take their water skin, if they're in an area where like poisonous gas is getting pumped in, and they'll just start breathing through their water skin. Very creative, and I love rewarding that kind of like ingenuity whenever they're playing, right? Swimming speed of 40 feet is nice, so this is all going to be a lot that you're getting on top of an already really good first level feature. So like, yeah, that's gonna be purple. And here, moving on, 6th level, so they get 2 features, and we know with Tasha's, all these subclasses feel pretty bloated in comparison to everything else that came before it. Oceanic Soul, you are now even more at home in the depths. You gain resistance to cold damage. In addition, when you are fully submerged, any creature that is also fully submerged can understand your speech, and you can understand theirs. That's a cute little ribbon right there. You're an underwater translator. That's pretty cute. Feel like Aquaman, right? The resistance to cold damage is nice. I am going to give Oceanic Soul a purple. Also with that, you get resistance to cold damage. It's worth saying that means that you automatically succeed on any checks that you make against extreme cold. So cold damage and fire damage do also get a nice little bump there. Guardian Coil, this is also something that you can do at 6th level because I guess they felt like they really needed this. Your Tentacle in the Deeps can defend you and others, and opposing itself between them and harm. When you are a creature you can see takes damage while within 10 feet of the tentacle, you can use your reaction to choose one of those creatures and reduce the damage to that creature by 1d8. When you reach 10th level in this class, the damage reduced by the tentacle increases to 2d8. I just don't get this feature. I understand that this is good. Mechanically, this is all fine and dandy, but I just don't really understand what about the playstyle of this is supposed to evoke. I guess that they didn't really get a spell that they can use as a reaction in their spell list. They felt like they needed to give it something cool as its reaction. I just don't really understand why Guardian Coil is really here. 10th level, also remember here, the damage reduced by the tentacle as well as the damage dealt by your tentacle is going to increase to 2d8. Grasping Tentacles. You learn the Ivar's Black Tentacles spell. It counts as a Warlock spell for you, but doesn't count against the number of spells you know. You can also cast it once without a spell slot, and you regain the ability to do so when you finish a long rest. Whenever you cast this spell, your patron's magic bolsters you, granting you a number of temporary hit points equal to your Warlock level. Moreover, damage can't break your concentration on this spell. So you can't cast this as well as, like, Hex, but Evard's Black Tentacles, right? Squirming ebony tentacles fill a 20-foot square on the ground that you can see within range. For the duration, these tentacles turn the ground in the area to difficult terrain. Here you go. This is shutting down. This is the grindhouse right here that could have been in Maelstrom. When a creature enters the affected area for the first time on a turn or starts its turn there, the creature must succeed on a dexterity saving throw or take 3d6 bludgeoning damage and be restrained by the tentacles until the spell ends. A creature that starts its turn in the area and is already restrained by the tentacles takes 3d6 bludgeoning damage. A creature restrained by the tentacles can use its action to make a strength or dexterity check against your spell save DC. On a success, it frees itself. So, maybe there's the possibility that getting Maelstrom on top of this would have felt a little bit redundant, right? But like, I guess Evard's Black Tentacles makes sense if we're going for like the full-on, like, yeah, this is the Tentacle Warlock, right? That is this thing's gimmick, right? I am all about tentacles, tentacles, tentacles. I'm just not really happy with where their 10th level is sitting. Mostly because this feels, again, like it's already bloated on top of a very, very feature bloated class. This is part of their greater combo of you slow down their speed to where they just absolutely can't escape, because that should be your main goal with this Warlock, right? You're going to be you're supposed to be shutting people down. You're supposed to be a really good controller. There's a lot of very, very hard control that's happening here that isn't exactly tied into a condition like being stunned. And then Fathomless Plunge, 14th level Fathomless feature. You can magically open temporary conduits to watery destinations. As an action, you can teleport yourself and up to 5 other willing creatures that you can see within 30 feet of you. Amid a whirl of tentacles, you all vanish and then reappear up to 1 mile away in a body of water you've seen, pond size or larger, or within 30 feet, each of you appearing in an unoccupied space within 30 feet of the others. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest. This is an oh shit button, and it's a situational like oh shit button with a lot of setup. So like all their early levels are already so good that of course this one is going to get pushed up into like my S rating. There are like possible combinations that you can do with this Warlock that I think some tables will find to be very disruptive to gameplay and kind of result in that. I keep hearing this whole, like, it seems like the hot button phrase right now, right? Illusion of choice, where like this combo, if you can set this up, is going to be so damn good that like the DM is going to have to figure out new challenges to throw at you, especially if you're just running the modules. Like this is going to raffle stomp a lot of stuff in the modules. Let's go over into the list real quick. So I guess I already put this one up here. It's actually the Fathomless. This was the name that we saw in the Unearthed Arcana. This one is going to be up here in S. This is a control Warlock, but like I think that it's also just sort of a I think that there may have been more interesting ways to get this flavor across and not just tie it strictly to like this reduction in speed. Like, number one, I don't really understand why the reduction in speed is there instead of like you can make grapple or like attempts with it. You can make shove attacks with it or something like that. I think giving it more mechanics would have been a lot more fun. This being tied into your bonus action means that, again, at early levels, this hex combo should be something that you are absolutely doing from first all the way up until, I would say, probably about 7th level. That is such a good high DPS kind of an option for this Warlock, okay? Especially with your Eldritch Blast, you're going to play it kind of like a conventional Warlock until you get access to some of their spells later on, you know, Sleet Storm. As soon as you get this, I think that you're really coming online as a bit of a controller here. Summon Elemental, it's like, I know that the spell is really good. I don't know that in combination with everything else that you're going to be getting, that you're going to notice that you cast this spell a ton. The thing that's going to happen with you whenever you hit 10th level is that you're going to insanely pop off, right? Eobard's Black Tentacles is going to make it, this is going to be such a scary area, because what this does is it not only slows them down, but it can restrain them, okay? So if they're restrained in this area, what happens with that? A restrained creature's speed becomes 0, and it can't benefit from any bonus to its speed. Attack rolls against the creature have advantage, and the creature's attack rolls have disadvantage. The creature has disadvantage on dexterity saving throws. Huh. Wow. Lightning Bolt. Your Eldritch Blast is all attack rolls. Like, whoa. Man, your Tentacle is going to be attack rolls. You're going to reduce its speed even further with all of this. This is a Warlock Patron that, if you want to hear about why I think this is actually probably a little bit better than Hexblade, okay, let me say this. Hexblade, for early levels, is very strong. Lurker of the Deep takes a second to get online, right? As soon as you hit 10th level, Lurker of the Deep becomes, in my opinion, I believe Lurker of the Deep at 10th level is stronger than Hexblade. Okay? I think at that point, the amount of disruption and control you're able to put out there is absolutely absurd. I think stylistically, like I said, it might have been more interesting to give this some mechanics in here for it to grapple. You know, at least The good thing is that Evar's Black Tentacles doesn't scale with you, but you're getting it once for free. Wow, God. This is so crazy strong. So let me know what you all think down in the comment section below. I put this one up here in S, especially right there at 10th level. I think that this does become one of the most significantly strong warlocks in the game. Very much outclassing, even, you know, I'm gonna say it. I think that at 10th level, this warlock is stronger than Hexblade. I want to give a shout out to my Patreon sponsors. Thank you all so much for helping me keep the lights on around here and coffee in my blood. Hey, if you're not subscribed to my channel already, I don't know what you're doing. I'm trying to get to over 10,000 subs this year, so it would mean so much to me if I could get your subscription. And if you feel like supporting the channel, go check out my Patreon or any of my products over on the Dungeon Masters Guild. I just released the Dancer class, which is the first martial support, straight up martial support I've ever written. So no spells in that thing. I thought it was pretty fun. Real design challenge with that. If you've ever played Fire Emblem, it's going to feel a lot like the Dancer over there. As well as my Merchant class. You can go pick those up, like I said, over on the Dungeon Masters Guild. Thank you guys so much for being here. This is a very fun one to make, very fun one to discuss. So I hope you all are staying safe, staying healthy, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.